When I get up in the morning, I see about 30 rabbits outside my kitchen window having their breakfast, you know.
You never turn your back on the rabbit, especially in Central Otago.
Once you get to plague proportions, the destruction happens in front of your eyes.
It's an absolute ecological disaster. I mean, you know, it's out of control. Basically, it looks beautiful from a distance, but when you get up close, it's actually quite depressing. It's just riddled with rabbit holes and the smell, droppings everywhere. I mean, it's gross. Hey, my name's Tim Wood, and I moved down here to Queenstown a few years back for the lifestyle, and I guess now I'm the proud father of about 3 or 4 million rabbits. It's an absolute ecological disaster. I mean, you know, it's out of control. We're sort of back at the 80s, the late 80s and early 90s sort of stage of how bad it is.
These people have sort of had a bit of a gutsful, eh?
Everyone's had a gutsful.
It's got to the point now I'm probably spending, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 a year just on maintaining rabbit control.
Come on, we girl. Holy hell. So what's a good day at the office?
A good day at the office for me is when we get 3 rabbits, because that means the place is under control. When you go in and get 300, the place isn't under control. I'm Stephen Dixon. My business is Kill That Rabbit, and that's what we do.
Yeah, watch out for the ferrets. Ah, you.
Ferrets have been used to catch rabbits since the mid-1880s.
People need to understand if you move to Central Otago, you've got to have a budget for rabbits. Good dogs, come on. And that comes down to where you are, whether it's a couple of $1,000s a year or $10,000 a year. Come on. I've got one client over at Wanaka, small, I don't know, quarter-acre section, chuck 70 grand's worth of plants into it.
70 grand?
Lost half of it to rabbits because no one had told them about the rabbits.
I guess the thing in Queenstown, there's a lot of overseas owners, absent owners.
Yeah, so you have a lot of absentee owners, but the problem is you've also got a lot of the council-based land or the marginal land down by the rivers. It's, you know, quite loamy and easily dug, and there's not any sort of control. There's not like a system, an organised system of control. Like I might spend a whole lot of time killing rabbits on my property, but it's pointless, you know, and they're actually at the point where they're eating through the chicken wire fences and trying to get back in. So, I mean, there's only so much I can do to hold out like a rabbit horde. And then you have situations where you've got paddocks being destroyed, you've got lower productivity. Agriculturally, I mean, they eat, in August, they'll eat the trees.
So what sort of damage do the rabbits do to the vineyards around here? Because there's a lot of vineyards.
Vines get ring-barked, especially July, August. Water systems can get hit.
What does that mean?
You look around, there's water systems everywhere, drippers and all that, and if the water doesn't get to the grapes don't grow, and the rabbits like water. So they'll just go and nibble a hole into it.
So you're telling me that they actually sort of eat right through these plastic irrigation systems?
Yeah, get the water out. At the moment the nets are up. Oh, there's a rabbit there.
There's always a rabbit somewhere.
Nets are up, they'll eat through the nets. And that lets birds in, which hit the grapes. Holes, there's a lot of problems with staff falling in holes. Tractors falling in holes when they're real bad. I know one vineyard up the road a bit that had probably half an acre that the vines were just wiped out.
So you have worked this block.
Yep.
What was it like when you came here?
When we were through here last, in one night we got 826 rabbits. Shooting with one shooter. And we could only shoot one direction because of all the houses down the bottom.
Here we are in Bendemeer subdivision. So how many properties are here roughly?
42.
42. And so this would be some of what, the most expensive real estate in New Zealand?
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Karen Ramsey. I manage Bendermere Estate on the shores of Lake Hayes in Queenstown, and rabbits are a big issue. This area through here was all farmland previously. It's now developed. We've got beautifully manicured lawns. We've got people spending a fortune on planting their gardens. So it's a virtual smorgasbord for rabbits.
And they're just coming in their hordes.
They are. Well, you can't control them to the same as you could when it was empty farmland as well, with shooting and everything else.
I noticed that there's like a house here in this subdivision for sale for like 18 million. So these people can kind of afford the rabbit fencing and the rabbit control, I suspect. What about in the outer areas?
It's probably more of the reserve areas, dock areas, and the reserve areas around Lake Hayes where nothing appears to be being done that's a worry.
This is a typical scene on the shores of Lake Hayes near Queenstown by day. And this is what it looks like at night.
From that top hole, there'll be a series of holes coming down through the bank. Like another technique I've used in the past is actually pumping water down the holes, and like high pressure water, a lot of it. And it goes down and floods it, comes up through all the holes. And I've pumped water down a hole for like 20 minutes and I'm like, where's it going? So I don't know how big they go. I'm Earl Matheson. I look after the grounds and the maintenance program here in this rural estate. And it's fair to say I spend a bit of time with rabbits. Now this is a good example of one of our rabbit fences. It's been in for about 3 years now. And it's just night and day.
It's just amazing. Like that paddock is just a dust bowl.
So it doesn't stop 100% of the rabbits.
Yeah.
But it's a control.
I know,
so
there's
very
still a
effective.
few holes in here, isn't there?
And that's where all your other rabbit techniques come in, like gas in the burrows, blocking the holes.
They say that to catch a rabbit, you've got to think like a rabbit.
Does help.
And how do you think like a rabbit? Like what do rabbits think like, you reckon?
They want to eat. They want to eat and breed. They're not so different to us. So part of my job here at Bendermere is every 3 weeks we'll walk around the whole property, the whole boundary fence.
And so this fence goes down and then across,
just out, let's slide across the ground.
Right.
So if a rabbit comes up, he's going to have to start digging out here. Yeah, I've even seen 2 rabbits like working together. So either side of the fence, and they'll start digging in and digging down. And it's like they're, teamwork. I've seen them do some pretty clever things. Like take this fence. Generally, they won't, climb it or try and get over it. But if a dog is chasing a rabbit, or maybe is shooting at a rabbit, they can certainly run up these fences and get over that height.
Have you seen that?
Oh, I've seen that, yeah. I think they've adapted very well to what we now provide for them.
And what do you mean by that?
Well,
lifestyle blocks.
Lifestyle blocks, nice, healthy gardens, green grass all year round.
And there's some pretty tall stories too, aren't there?
Yeah, you might remember that. I can't remember what year it was when they had some flooding down on the Tyree near Dunedin. The farmer went out. It was on the news. Went out and thought there was debris on the sheep that was sort of cornered over in the paddock before the flood waters. He went over on his tractor and it was the rabbits that had climbed up on the backs of the sheep, out of the water, like just to survive. So anything to survive.
Subdivisions are a bane in our life, really. There's a subdivision not too far from here that was one farm, now 80 lifestyle blocks, and it is rabbit prone. We've got our hotspots, and you mentioned Meraki, no question about it. Meraki is a hotspot. Lake Hayes.
TR now, Lake Hayes.
Yeah.
Arrowtown.
I think what's...
Clyde, Alexandra, Omakal,
The rabbits never used to be a major urban problem as such, but they are now. And that's just not Otago. That's many areas in New Zealand are experiencing exactly the same.
Do you admit that the regional council, for whatever reason, have totally dropped the ball, and the result is an escalation of the rabbit population?
Yeah, I think if we talk about urban areas, the regional council until last year has not really got involved in urban areas. We've tended to stick to the pastoral, the farming communities. as opposed to the townships.
So you admit that the regional council has maybe been a bit asleep at the wheel for a minute or two, or a year or two?
For a period of time, there's no denying that. As I say, let's not underestimate or take away the fact that there's a lot of Otago that it's still in really good heart in terms of very low rabbit numbers.
Gosh, where is that? Because I don't think I've been to those places.
No, and they're normally areas you can't get into. I think that's another reason why urban rabbits or lifestyle rabbits they're highly populated areas, if you like, in the urban areas. And visually, the public go into those areas and see them a lot.
They're living under houses, they're living under trailers, boats, water tanks. They're everywhere. They're just like maggots, as people say, the whole hill moves.